Here we go. Here we go. Just wait, just wait. Nope, you only need five. Hello, can you hear us? Booth, we want to check.
And I know that they will be so it must be.
Yeah, well, its panel is closed, so it looks like everything is plugged in. Can't be sure though. Okay, there it is now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We have a one other colleague we're waiting for, but I want to remind you, if you would like to make public comment tonight, there are comment cards at the entryway. And please remember, if you are a student, to check the area that is in red. And then lastly, you have two opportunities to speak, one on agenda items and non-agenda items. If you could please be specific if it is with regards to agenda items, so we can make sure you are called up at the appropriate time. Thank you so much, and we'll get started as soon as our colleague arrives.
In the interim, again, thank you for being here. I want to draw everyone's attention to the artwork of our wonderful scholars. And so if you would like to take a look around the gallery on either side, you'll see the artwork that will be presented at Smart Art in September of 2023. And these were the top 20, and we narrowed it down to the top 10. So while we're waiting, it's an opportunity to see the brilliance of our young people. And I'll say that again once the meeting actually starts.
He said 6:35, so that's 2 more minutes. We'll see.
You can start. All right.
Well, in the interest of time, since we do have quorum, we will go ahead and get started, and he has stated he is on his way. So I would like to call this meeting to order of the Grand Rapids Public School Board for Monday, June 5, 2023. We welcome and appreciate your presence here tonight. We respectfully request that you turn off cellular phones and refrain from clapping, cheering, or making audible comments. We invite you to make formal public comment during the designated times, and again, those comment cards can be found at the entryway. Please limit your comments to approximately 3 minutes. Thank you so much. And Ms. Shockey, would you please call the roll?
Good evening. Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Eatman? Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton?
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez? Here. Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Shockey here. And President Williams?
Present.
We have quorum.
Alrighty, and next we have approval of our agenda. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Alrighty, we will move forward with our first item, which is celebrations.
Good evening, everyone. And we are very excited to present the McDonald's Art Contest winner. I will invite Mr. Eric Harmson and Ms. Maggie Malone, Executive Director and Director of Program Development and Professional Learning, as well as the Fine Arts Program. So they will come forward and explain what the McDonald's Art Contest is about and give us a little bit more information. So if you want to come forward.
Good evening, President Williams, Dr. Roby, and distinguished board members. It's always my pleasure to come up here and be able to have a celebration around our scholars and then our fantastic fine arts teacher and their leader, Maggie Malone. So with that, I will turn it over with Maggie.
Thanks, Eric. And thank you, President Williams, Superintendent Roby, and our amazing Board of Ed. It is with great honor that I am here before you today to again have the opportunity to celebrate some of our amazing student artists. And we're here today for the McDonald's Celebration of Culture and Community. And McDonald's has been a great partner with schools. They're sponsoring an art competition as part of their Black and Positively Gold efforts in multiple Michigan high schools. So we're really excited. McDonald's believes that mural art is an important part of telling a community's story. So we're super proud to partner with McDonald's, Dr. Pepper supporting the program, and Seaforth PR, of course, with John Hemhold supporting, and students also had the opportunity to work with artist Desiree Kelly, who is a known muralist on a national level, so they had an amazing opportunity to learn from her and to collaborate with her via Zoom. And we're proud that one of our scholars, I'm gonna let their teacher introduce and give all the good news out to you. But she was, the winner received a $1,500 scholarship. Which, you know, if we're going to change lives, that's part of it, right? We are barrier breaking for how scholars see themselves, but we're also providing it with support financially and removing barriers for them. And their teacher, Mrs. Marcy Hanley, we're super proud to have her on our fine arts team and with the Grand Rapids Public Schools. Mrs. Hanley received $1,000 to continue to support visual arts at her school, which is the Grand Rapids University Preparatory Academy. So really proud of Mrs. Hanley. And I'm gonna just hand it over to her because I could keep talking because I'm so excited about this, but I'm gonna contain myself.
Good evening. Lily is sorry she couldn't be here tonight. She had to work. But she is one of our most talented artist scholars at UPrep. She is an amazing young woman. She's a junior this year, so right now she's in the process of getting ready to go off to college and getting art portfolios and stuff. She is going to be seeking a career in the arts. She hasn't quite narrowed it down yet. We are really proud of her, and that this whole contest, they only asked 4 schools in the entire state to participate, and UPrep was the only school in West Michigan. So winning this in addition to winning the scholarship, Lillian's artwork will also be displayed in 3 local McDonald's in the area. And yeah, we're just really proud of her. She's an amazing young woman.
And when she says displayed, I just want to like bring it home because that awesome piece of art that you see up there is going to be a mural on the side of McDonald's buildings. Wow. So we're not talking about like a little piece that's going to be on the wall. We're talking about it's going to be on the entire side of a building. So when you talk about changing how you see yourself and removing barriers, this partnership really exemplifies that. So again, just want to say how proud we are of Lillian Tamorsky, Jr. at University Preparatory Academy, and how much we appreciate McDonald's and Seaforth for partnering with us. So we're really proud of everybody, and thank you, Mrs. Hanley.
Yes, thank you. I think it's also important to uplift because it's not just the McDonald's buildings here in the city of Grand Rapids. This goes across the state, and so I want to say it's about 50 different McDonald's individual walls that this will be across the state, and that says a lot for Grand Rapids to be represented across the state. And if you recall, last year, we also had a awardee, and that young man was from Ottawa Hills High School. So I want to make note, this is 2 years in a row that Grand Rapids, watching our scholars' brilliance, and so that needs to be noted.
Thank you so much. Next, we have a public comment for board agenda items only. So I just have received a few more cards, so give me one moment, please. All right, we have two comments for agenda items. First is Julie McBride. Please come forward, as well as Jolene Andrews. You both can come to the table and prepare to share with us. Thank you.
While you're coming forward, I'll read the instructions for public comment. So public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your full name before providing your comment. We will then start the timer at the beginning of your public comment and provide you with a 1-minute notice by flagging a red card indicating 1 minute remains. I don't see the red card, so I'm going to flag a yellow folder instead. Okay. You will need to complete your comment time upon being notified that 3 minutes have passed. As a reminder, board members do not respond directly to public comment, but your concerns will be brought to the attention of appropriate staff. We really value your input. We're grateful you're here. Thank you for sharing with us.
I'll go first. My name is Julie McBride. I'm a teacher in Grand Rapids Public. I've taught here for 25 years. So I am commenting on the retention and recruitment comments that were from our last board meeting. I don't know if that's continuing on in this, but for recruitment, I feel like you're missing the best resource of recruiting future teachers, and that is your current teachers who have interns. And when our interns see the conditions that we are teaching in at times and the support or lack thereof, depending on the building that you're in, when they see the lack of support, they do not want to stay. And I feel that that's your biggest mistake. And they see oversized classrooms. They see situations where you don't have the skill set, but yet you're asked to be doing something. It is also disheartening to hear that you're looking outside of the country and you're willing to pay $20,000 to relocate somebody to come to this area to teach when there are so many amazing teachers, and the fact that you're missing out on a lot of amazing teachers because you're not making the situations in our classrooms the best that they possibly could be with numbers. You guys are pulling teachers to do positions down here when we don't have enough teachers in our buildings, and we're doing SEL stuff, but if our class sizes were smaller, teachers could do that without somebody coming and giving us a new program. The other thing is some of interns have received emails about job offers, and they, A, did not apply for the job, and B, they are not certified for the job, and they are being offered jobs. I was going to teach summer school this year, and I had to fill out a new employee application
1 minute.
to work for summer school as a teacher that's highly effective in the district for 25 years. I was going to have to fill out a new employee application. When asked around colleagues, there were there were some people that were filling out a 10-question survey, and there were some people that were filling out a whole application, which I feel is disappointing. It'd be nice to be supported, and that the equity that is taught to us that we are leading in our classrooms, a lot of us, is not being displayed by the district heads by making all of our schools equitable for all of our students. And that's with good teachers.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jolene Andrews. I am also a GRPS teacher. I'm sick and I have a lot to say, so bear with me. I have 2 questions I would like answered about purchasing agendas. Number 1, why are purchasing agendas so vague? I appreciate that some board members have been pushing for more detail and clarity, but so far I haven't seen enough changes, at least in what's available to the public. There are a few things on the purchasing agenda that seem as though they are full of buzzwords, but I don't understand what they actually are or who they would impact and how, such as Learn Platform and Scholar First. Number 2, why is the district spending such an alarming amount of money without communicating with and to the people who will be the most impacted? I see decodable readers are on the purchasing agenda. Are any of them in Spanish? I'm frustrated to see that the district is asking to spend over $58,000 on summer school materials from Savas for the immersion programs. The dual language program has loudly and clearly expressed their dislike of the Spanish materials provided by Savas. So I can't understand why we are purchasing more. I taught summer school last year at Southwest. We did a novel study in Spanish and it was wonderful. Why is the district not reusing or repurposing materials from last summer, especially when summer school will only last 11 days this year? Why is the district not asking for input since we know our program best? The decision makers are too far removed from the staff responsible for implementation. There are other purchases where I'm not opposed to the product, such as Seesaw and Pear Deck, but rather the process through which it's being requested. My issue is the programs were purchased without input and are being repurchased without input. The teachers who would potentially be using the program should be surveyed to see if they want the product. And before renewal comes up, there should be data taken on how many people are using the product and if it's something that they think should be repurchased. I only know Pear Deck is an option because I watch every board and committee meeting. I attended a staff feedback session to discuss if teachers were happy with the way ESSER was being spent. The answer is no. I told the district representatives that some of the purchases could be great, but I hoped they would communicate the new resources to staff so they would actually be used. That never happened. In talking to coworkers this past week, many of them had no idea the district had a subscription to Pear Deck. I've heard nothing about how many people are using Pear Deck, Classcraft, Seesaw, or Learning A to Z. I'm also disappointed in the movement towards Teaching Works. I will be honest and admit I don't know much about the program. It could be wonderful, but it's yet another program in a long string of programs in which the district is making it seem like the issue is that teachers don't know how to teach. In reality, there isn't enough planning time, there's no system-wide response to intervention, there are not enough staff members in schools, class sizes are too large, and nothing is being done about chronic student absences. It's hard to learn math if you're not in school. Let's work on those issues instead of implying that the problem is the quality of the teaching practices. Speaking of planning time, we have the lowest planning time of all the surrounding districts. The last contract was signed with the agreement that the district would work with the union to increase planning time for elementary teachers. Nothing's been done. Soon the budget will be finalized and the district will say there are no funds to find solutions for increasing planning time, and another year will be lost and more teachers will leave. I would also like to point out that the district doesn't need to wait for the union on these things. The district could do the right thing whether the union pushes forward or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have committee chair updates. We'll start with the Academic Achievement Committee. Did Mr. Ross have
I have
some?
a summary.
Okay, wonderful.
So, the last meeting, which was maybe 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
correct me
that's
if
about
I'm, okay, 2 weeks ago, and it was primarily around Teaching Works, the efficacy, historical impact, also an update around what the role of the instructional council is, and including that the launch of a math advisory committee, which is beginning the process of curriculum review for an adoption of math. Instructional council also includes presenters to share a fully fleshed out syllabus to ensure that any teacher who instructs a course has the materials and information needed for successful implementation. There was an English language brief, where they talked about the instructional models within GRPS and how students show proficiency in the language other than English and could qualify for the seal of biliteracy. There is a quick update around the Promise neighborhood. If you recall, there are 11 schools in our district that are part of the Promise Neighborhood Grant, which is a federal grant that is full wraparound service. It includes school programming, and it's primarily in the 49507 footprint, so it's our southeast side schools, but then also it's in partnership with other community organizations around kind of that full wraparound service for families with mental health and social emotional components, acute health care, early childhood interventions, and employment opportunities. And so there was an update related to that. Quickly, summer school, there was a reminder that summer school is June 27th through July 20th, which is Tuesday through Thursday. There are 10 summer school options across our district, and there is a high dosage tutoring initiative, specifically Book Nook, which is an intervention for elementary and middle school students. We are focusing specifically around reading and math skills, but there will be other enrichment supports within the summer school program. And so that's kind of just the broad strokes. Ms. Melton, I know that you're on the academic committee. Is there anything else that?
That's the majority of it right there.
Okay.
Thank you. Next, we have Ad Hoc Facilities Committee. Ms. Shockey?
The Ad Hoc Facilities Committee met last month, just had one agenda item, and that was next steps for the Kensington property. So as a reminder, the board did vote to demolish that building and retain that property, restore it to green space for the neighbors while we continue to develop the facilities master plan. So just a few updates. The district informed us that they do not plan to demo that building until late fall, early winter, which will give us time to engage with the City of Grand Rapids Parks Department to see what partnership or supports might be available to further enhance that property, not just simply restore it to a green space. And we discussed ways in which we can bring community together to celebrate that building and the rich history it has, not only in the neighborhood, but for the many alumni that exist in our community, with hopes of doing that in early fall. That's my report.
Thank you, and I think you also have a Finance Committee report.
Indeed, I do. Conversely, that was the longest agenda I think the Finance Committee has ever had, which is great. We had a lot of items, many of which are coming forward this evening. So I will take any questions about the budget amendment to the Facilities Master Plan, which I know we have an update on, blanket orders and purchasing agenda as we come to those items, and just share with you the things that are not on the agenda tonight. So we received a side-by-side comparison of the governor, the state, and the House budgets. Overall, the news is good. Increases per pupil funding and many categoricals, there's positive increases for Grand Rapids Public Schools. We know that negotiations are now taking place where it is. Hopefully, there's going to be a budget by the end of June. And we did have a reminder that, like many COVID relief funds and funding that has come through the last couple of years, much of what you see in the proposed budgets is a one-time increase. And so to keep that as an awareness as we look at that budget and plan as a district for future years. On the purchasing agenda, we will approve that tonight. I'll just call it a few highlights. This is the time of year that we look at many renewals preparing for the next academic year, so you'll see a host of those on the purchasing agenda tonight. You'll also see a few security purchases. We received a security grant. You'll see the site assessment work that's going to happen over the summer, upgrades to both Grand Rapids Montessori and campus buildings, and a purchase of a new weapon detection systems. Also this evening, we have our blanket purchase orders. Those are approvals that we give the district for repetitive purchases. So things like utilities, dual enrollment, building maintenance and services, legal and accounting services, those come to us once so that the district can move those invoices through on a monthly basis. And we also received a first look at the Facilities Master Plan draft budget. I know we have a presentation on that in just a few minutes. And so just a reminder that this Facilities Master Plan draft budget is in preparation for November bond vote, which is a no new tax bond to equip our scholars and our staff with $305 million. And so I will end there and take more questions later.
Wonderful. Any questions at this point, or are we going to hold them till we get to that? Wonderful. All righty, next we have Superintendent's report.
All right, good evening once again, everyone. We are on the mile, probably 23 of a 26 marathon as we are wrapping up our 22-23 school year. With that, there's some district hours where we will be changing beginning next week, where we will go to a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. district business hours, with Fridays being the district office will be closed, and that is in concert with how we have normally handled business between June and August while school is not in session. District will be closed June 16th, 23rd, and 30th, July 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. And then also making sure that we'll communicate that to our broader community so that they're aware that business will be from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for our district hours. With summer safety closing out of the school year, this is Mr. Johnson's report, but I will do an overview of it. The end of the school year is active, and it has been for the last week. We have not had major issues yet, and we don't anticipate as we are planning for them. We have officers working 10-hour shifts to close out our school year. Assistance is also being provided with GRPD with special attention to our transit center. If you recall, our high school students, as they are transitioning from school to home and home back to school, there's a lot of activity around that, and so there is a special emphasis in that particular area. Summer security in place to cover the summer sites. As you know, we have 10 summer sites, and we have we have 5 sites open this summer, and we're working with Mr. Atkins to ensure proper security staffing. And also, as we are closing out the school year, tomorrow is the last official full day of school, with Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday being half days. And we do have all staff out, including our executive directors and others, beginning at 10 a.m. for those final 3 days to ensure the smooth closing of the school year. And so we want to make sure that we are sensitive to making sure that kids get home safely and begin their summer vacation on the right foot.
Wonderful.
All right, last thing, and then I'm going to call up Mr. Leon Hendricks and Mr. John Himholt. And this is the overview of the No Tax Increase Capital Program. As you recall, we have done quite a few things over the last year, looking specifically at our facilities around how do we leverage our facilities in the best possible way, not only from a programmatic piece, but also a financial piece. We have more facilities than what we actually have enrollment for. Currently, we have 44 operational schools, and in addition to that, and that would house about 30,000 students. At present, we have just shy of 15,000 students, and so we want to be sensitive to that and be better stewards of district resources so that we can be more competitive in some of those other things. And so what Mr. Himholt and Mr. Hendricks will do is provide you with the overview of the capital programming and the framework for this budget. I want to remind you, and I'll say this a lot of times, because before things kind of start sticking with folks, they need to hear it about 7 or 8 times. And so I'm not going to say it 7 or 8 tonight, but I will constantly remind that as we are planning for a successful bond, this bond has implications for the next 30 years for our district. In addition to that, as we are planning, we are looking at 2023 money, but we also have to be consistent with how will that impact in 2024, 2025, and 2026. And they'll kind of unpack some of those things around contingencies and other things. So as we are looking at 2023 dollars, understanding that there's always some escalation and other things with inflation and things. So I will turn it over to these gentlemen and jump in when I can.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Roby. Good evening, President Williams, Dr. Roby, and distinguished board members. November feels like it's going to be here tomorrow, so this is one step closer to being prepared for that. A lot of the questions we've been getting around our plans to go for a bond have just been around putting some meat on the bones, if you will, about where these investments will go when this, if the voters do pass this bond. First, we want to start with a high-level picture of what bond funds can be used for. We know a number of you have been involved with other bond issues and know this information, but for the benefit of our public and others who might be watching and getting a feel for this for the first time, we just want to talk about what bond funds can be used for. The way I like to remember it, and for full transparency, I'm kind of learning a lot of these details along with you in my first year here, but the way I've been able to grasp it best is that the bond monies can be used for things that you can touch, feel, and grab. So to erect schools, complete school projects, remodel our school buildings, like the project that we have going at Innovation Central, equipping school building structures, athletic fields, playgrounds, or other facilities can also be used to get the equipment that we need, computers, desk chairs, those types of things, other capital expenditures, and the costs of issuing the bond itself. There are costs associated with that and the costs of getting on the ballot. These funds can be used to reimburse the district there. Bond funds cannot be used for, and the big one that folks sometimes don't grasp is that bonds cannot be used to staff. So we cannot hire more people with bond dollars. We cannot pay salaries, wages, or benefits. Cannot be used for software upgrades. So if we have existing computers, we cannot upgrade them using bond dollars, though you can pay for the initial software that comes with new hardware. We cannot use it for training, consulting, service contracts, or other software support. So our next part of this presentation is we're going to go into the specifics on what this bond means and our best thinking right now about where this money will go. You'll also see this information that we're going to share with you just published at grps.org for the public to see. So we invite board members and really anyone else to share that with those in your circles and on your social media platforms. Keep in mind that this is going to be a very high-level overview. So we will get closer to the specifics as we get closer to that right time, but this is kind of, we start high and zoom in. So this is our first look at just how the pie is going to be split up, but there are more details will be coming as we get further into this process. And we also want to be clear that this is, the word we always use is iterative. There will be changes to this. These dollar figures will not be exact, so just know that this is a process that will be ongoing and changing, and that the investments that you see dictated in this presentation are the result of a major community engagement effort that we've done over the past year that really has given us guidance as far as what our community and, more importantly, what our scholars want to see in their schools. So I'm going to turn it over to John Helmholt. John Helmholt, of course, previously held my role, but now is the president of Seaforth. We've contracted with Seaforth to help us in communicating the informational campaign for the bond, and John's going to head that up. Of course, he's uniquely experienced to be able to coordinate our efforts. So, John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Leon. Well, good evening. Good to see you all. Really wanted to use this opportunity to showcase what a very unique, rare opportunity this is. This is a limited time opportunity. This is a generational opportunity to take 2 voter-approved tax rates, which the property tax owners are currently paying at 3.85 mils. And you can extend that by 20 years. So this will become a no tax increase bond extended over 20 years that will raise $305 million. The closest we've come to raising that level of funds for our scholars and the infrastructure and our staff was the $175 million bond that was passed in 2015. And so we're targeting the November 2023 election. You technically have until May of 2024, but for various reasons, we think November makes the most sense. This is not a new tax rate. It is not a tax increase. That's why we're calling it a no tax increase bond, to emphasize this is something the property tax owners are already paying. They've been paying it since 2015, since that last bond was approved. And by voting to extend this, you generate that $305 million. The key themes for the bond investments, and Mr. Hendricks referred to the extensive community engagement that was been done to really listen to stakeholders, starting with the strategic planning process, with the facilities master plan, with the work that Eureka Group is doing, and we heard pretty clear. Our scholars deserve a safe, healthy, and healing learning environments, and we're being tasked to deliver on the basics. State-of-the-art classrooms, athletic facilities, fine arts auditoriums, technology, playgrounds, green space activation, safety and security, and food service facilities such as cafeterias and kitchens. These are the basics, but if we look at how we're in a competitive environment with school districts across this region who are also trying to recruit, retain students, we have to look at how do we make sure GRPS is on par. Huge strides were made in 2015 with the bond proposal there. Back it out to 2004 when Burt Blakey was superintendent. I mean, that's how far this dates, and now it's an opportunity to double down with this no tax increase bond proposal. The investments, and you'll see in a pie chart here what our best thinking for how we do this. But for how these are going to get invested, there will be that repair criteria to look at how we ensure there's equitable investment, particularly looking at areas of the city where there's concerns about some degree of inequity and disinvestment, and most notably in the Ottawa Hills feeder pattern, the 49507, the 3rd Ward, whatever you want to call the southeast side. But you will see that repair criteria as part of the longer-term decision-making. This is a breakdown of the no tax increase bond program. I want to emphasize what Mr. Hendricks said about, this is the best thinking. You as a board will have the opportunity with community feedback to adjust things accordingly. Does have some escalation cost built in for those finance committee members. We know you asked about that. What Plant Moran Creason informed us is that they have built in a 5% cost escalation, which is the industry standard. It's between 4 and 6. They went with 5%. So that is built into this. Educational building construction. So new construction, additions, renovations make up the vast majority. That's the $233 million that you see, the largest blue part of the pie. Renovations, which would be for particularly fine arts auditoriums, are the $12.7 million. Renovations for athletics, we're looking at the $12.7 million. Technology, 7.3. And I want to emphasize, when we went to one-to-one devices, that is a substantial annual investment to maintain that one-to-one. These are one-time bond dollars, so there will be future thought and consideration for how you continue to maintain it even beyond the bond. But the need for that 7.3 is right now. The ESSER funds that we use to acquire and refresh that technology is running out. Those are one-time dollars. So that'll be a longer-term consideration. Playgrounds are at the 3.8 million. Safety and security at the 5.6. And then consolidation improvements, and this is 29 million. This was another question that came up at Finance Committee. What does this mean? And those consolidation improvements are a placeholder for the ancillary expenses that may not be directly considered when realigning facility footprint. This could include, but is not limited to, site enhancements like parking lot upgrades, lighting, furniture, equipment, fixtures, thinking what those moving expenses and things that kind of go into potential consolidation, that is all part of it. And certainly Plant Moran at your future facilities ad hoc are going to go into a little bit more detail. And this is an area that I know that the board, at least finance, has asked for a little bit more unpacking, and they plan to come prepared to share more. If you want to go to the next slide. This is a breakdown for the way how the funds will be let. So if approved by voters on November 7th, this $305 million would be let over a series of 3 different bonds over that 5-year plus period. And so you can see kind of how it breaks down. Again, there's going to be that flexibility that just like you are approving your budget amendments for this year's current, and then you're also looking at next year's budget, you'll be able to make those amendments, adjustments, and there are many times where Alex and his team may come and say, like Innovation Central, like when that was originally planned in 2015, 24 million was kind of a good rate. Well, that's skyrocketed since then because of supply chain issues, because of inflation, and while the cost escalation dollars are intended to kind of address those, I mean, that's just the reality of things that have to happen. So again, emphasize this is our best thinking. As this comes before you in on July 17th, that's where you will receive both the reimagined plan vision and framework along with this budget. But then we'll go through the summer. There'll be continued engagement throughout the summer. In fact, I'm going to go back here because I think we might have missed. Here we go. I did miss one slide. I just want to emphasize this real quick, and I mentioned it verbally, but this plan, this concept, you remember you had 4,000 students fill out the surveys. You had multiple focus groups during strategic planning, during the facilities master plan. So there's a lot that's informed this. Strategic plan, Eureka Group, our friends at Urban Core Collective who have their community vision for healthy and healing schools. You can already see some of that language is being incorporated because with the vast majority of the recommendations, there was total agreement. And so, but there's also going to be need for more engagement. And so once the plan comes out and you vote on this vision and plan framework, there'll be another round of engagement. And so that's not the end, that's a framework for the plan. And then the plan itself will really be determined on whether or not the voters approve this on November 7th, because that plan is either going to have a $305 million fuel injection or none at all. And I think that's the real message that needs to get out to the community, is acknowledging this limited time generational opportunity to do a no tax increase to generate these types of funds.
So
for
I'm
the
going to say it a
kids who
little
deserve it.
plainer so that people hear it and understand that with this is an opportunity for us to really reimagine the district and make the changes that we have decided as a community need to be made. If our bond does not pass, we still have to make those changes, but it will be from a consolidation only. It will not be any of those places of how do we grow programming and renovate and all those other things. It will just be about consolidation because as you know, and if you recall during our fall sessions when we were doing our town halls, we have about $4 million that we are expending year over year for the upkeep of facilities that are not being fully utilized. And so we have to, that is not a sustainable model. And so I want to make sure that people understand just that this is a place and a plan that allows us to continue to accelerate and grow. We're still going to have to become a smaller footprint in our community, but this also allows us to get some of those other things to be more competitive. And for us, that's an equity piece to make sure that our scholars have as many opportunities to launch for their post-secondary lives as any other community. And if it doesn't pass, that means that we're just doing consolidation. I don't want that point
No,
to be
absolutely.
missed.
Well, and then you'll see as we put more information out, I mean, you know you have staffing shortages. We know you have too many buildings, not enough students, too many buildings, not enough staff. The vacancy list is the highest I think I've ever seen. And so some of that consolidation coupled with this $305 million investment, we're going to be able to address some of your, not all, it'll be some of the staffing shortages from food service, grounds and maintenance to classroom and staff support. That will be part of that comprehensive approach. So it really creates some win-win opportunities. But of course, you know, having that 305 million fuel injection is key to really taking it to the next level.
Colleagues, any questions?
Not a question, but more of a comment. So thank you for acknowledging earlier in regards to the questions that was presented at our last finance meeting around this. And I want to intentionally tell you thank you for hearing the concerns that we presented there to you and then addressing them today. And so I appreciate the intentionality from you taking that feedback and incorporating today's presentation. So thank you.
Mr. Helmholtz, remind me, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. Our millage rate is one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in Kent County. Is that right for public school districts?
That's correct. I believe it is actually the lowest tax rate in the entire county.
Yep.
But we can bring that back. We have a chart that Rhonda, I'm looking at Rhonda, she's nodding.
We've definitely seen it. I was
Yeah.
just trying to remember.
No,
yeah.
and I think there'll be a fair amount more information that will build upon some of what we were just talking about with your facilities and your capacity and your current use, the staffing, but then also looking at like what our competitors are, where they're at. And they've passed record number of bonds in the last few years. And well, we had our 2015. I mean, that's pushing, 10 years, 9 years now. And so, whereas you're seeing other school districts like Allendale, every other year they're out for a new bond. And so I think this is that rare, unique opportunity that is limited time. If, November, February, March, presidential potential in May, and then after that, the tax rate drops, at least part of the tax rate drops off. And so if you wanted to raise a similar amount of money, you would have to ask for a tax increase. This is a no tax increase bond proposal.
Well, I know I don't speak for everyone, but for myself, I know what would help me, colleagues, as a board member, even to kind of wrestle with what we're doing to reimagine would be some of those questions that we pulled, and we have all that data that we've heard referenced. It would be great to be able to work with that actual data. And most likely, because it was a pretty conservative questionnaire, to open some other lines of communication so that as we go into this, our public would know that we're not just looking at what was collected at that one point in time, but rather some live information and live ways of communicating and understanding what our community would like. Just kind of like
If
to
I
put
can
that out
add,
there.
related to that, because we have committed to the ongoing conversations, and we've seen in the evidence of that, and it's not just this, but the evidence of that is not what we did just this fall, but then also our work with the Eureka Group. We did some things internally, and now we're gonna move externally. We have the first draft of kind of what those conversations will be. We've also talked about some focus groups and some polling. So to your point, it's not a one and done. It's how do we continue to make this an iterative process where we keep communication open. And again, as we are talking about planning, we're planning in 2023 for something that'll happen 2 or 3 years down the road. And so we want to be sensitive to how do we kind of do some forecasting, but at the same time, have flexibility to adjust in current conditions, if that makes sense. Okay.
Thank you for adding that, because that's when we are on the, the cuffs of saying, reimagine with us, this is what that looks like. Proper community engagement, getting the feedback, and making sure that we're hearing from not only just resident, but scholar voice in that process. And so that's extremely important in this process. So I appreciate the intentionality to make sure that's happening.
And just to be extra clear with if this bond doesn't pass, it's not just that we don't get an extra $305 million. It actually represents a cut of about $100 million. So this would be a significant loss for us, not just not getting something extra.
Significant loss for the scholars as well.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I'll just add one more comment too, just historical perspective. There were a few of us that were talking about the need to reimagine the district before the pandemic, and then it was, of course, the global pandemic that shifted priorities. And so this work has been thought about and hoped for years. And I really, truly believe this represents such great hope for our scholars and such great opportunity for our scholars. There's many intangibles that don't come with a budget proposal, right? Like, I know that transportation is such a hot button issue for our families. For me too, my one son rides the bus. I know these issues. You don't see that in here, but what happens is when we reimagine the district, we get a chance to reimagine that too. And so I wish it could say everything. It can't, but I just want to say that there are other things that come with that really will support this district where it needs to go.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty. Next, we have action items, and I believe we're calling Ms. Cripps up to the front. All right, just anticipation of any questions. So our first action item is the purchasing agenda. Are there questions with regards to the purchasing agenda?
We're asking questions beforehand or after the presentation?
You should have already reviewed your purchasing agenda. So this is, if you have questions about what you have, this is the time to bring it forward.
Well, I was reviewing this. A few questions did come to mind for me. Some of these I do not believe I even seen this from our finance committee for some of these purchases that are up for us to vote on today. So are we doing this as a whole, or are we pulling these out?
This is a whole.
Were there additions?
Nothing changed from finance.
So this was the purchasing agenda that was approved to move forward to the board for approval today.
For me?
This is the purchasing agenda that finance approved to move forward to the board today.
Okay. I'm going to double check that.
Is there questions? All righty. Then is there a motion to approve the purchasing agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All right, please call the roll.
Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Eatman?
No.
Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton?
No.
Mr. Rodriguez?
No.
Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Schottky, yes. President Williams?
Yes. All right. Next, we have our 23-24 blanket
President
purchase.
Williams, may I pause you for a moment. So this motion did not carry. We
Correct.
have a split vote.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not certain of procedure.
That
I
was-
apologize.
Anya. Okay,
Thank you.
wonderful. 2324 blanket purchase orders. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve the 2324 blanket purchase orders?
So moved.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Eatman. Yes. Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Shockey, yes. President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have our adoption of Budget Amendment 2, General Fund. Any questions?
Do you want to give a high-level overview? Or I can just say that Budget Amendment 2 historically is the budget amendment that just actualizes expenses. We're a month away from the next academic year budget, and so you don't see significant movement in this budget, and that's what I would say we heard at.
And that's
At
what
finance.
the most part is trying to adjust to where we think actual fiscal year 22, 23 will come in at.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve the?
So moved.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Eatman.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Shockey, yes. President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And then lastly, the adoption of the Budget Amendment 2 for the, wait a minute, that's not lastly, is it? Did we do, so next is, I'm sorry, Special Revenue Fund, trying to jump ahead. Is there a motion or any, back up, any questions with regards to Special Revenue Fund Budget Amendment 2? All righty, is there a motion to approve the adoption of Budget Amendment 2 for Special Revenue Fund?
Support.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Eatman.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Shockey, yes. President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now here we go. Adoption of Budget Amendment 2 for the Debt Retirement Fund. Are there any questions with regards to the Debt Retirement Fund? Is there a motion to approve?
Move. So moved.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Eatman.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Shockey, yes. President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And next we have consent agenda grouping. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda grouping?
So move.
Support.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Wade is excused. Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. Eatman.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis is excused. Ms. Melton.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Ross is excused. Ms. Shockey, yes. President Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And then we have Board President announcements. I do not have any announcements at this time. However, I will be reaching out to board members with regard to some board training that we are going to try to get scheduled with MASB. And so look for communication to come from me with regards to that, or I should say the board secretary to come. And then that is all that I have. So we are at our public comment for the second portion of the agenda, and that is non-agenda items only. The first person is D. Jones. You may come to the front table. Elizabeth Hornhorst, you may come to the table. And Debbie Skydoma, sorry, you may come to the table. And then Mr. Tubbs, you'll be on deck.
Just a reminder that public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your full name before providing your comment. We'll then begin the timer at the beginning of your public comment and provide you with a 1-minute notice. Mr. Eatman will provide that. You will need to complete your comment time upon being notified that 3 minutes have passed. As a reminder, board members do not respond directly to public comment, and concerns will be brought to the attention of the appropriate staff. We value your input. Thank you for sharing with us.
How you doing, everybody? My name is D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. I am here to speak to you guys about a couple different things. I'm doing another esports competition August 12th. We'll be playing Call of Duty at the National Guard base, so I'm very, very passionate about our veterans, and we're being able to do Call of Duty at the National Guard base, which is hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be fun. I'm a very, very gritty and hardcore type of person, so I'm really excited to do something like this, Call of Duty. I'm also bringing esports competition here. It's going to be a $100,000 esports competition that we're bringing here. It's a black-owned company called the Ultimate End Gamers League. I'm really excited about this because I'm actually looking to have the first professional esports team, and this is the first world championship that we would ever have here in our city. And so it's going to be at the DeBoss Place Performance Hall either August 6th or December 3rd. I look forward to being able to invite some of the GRPS students, some of the staff. I'd like for you guys to come check this out. This is the first thing, and I'm black. This is second worst city for economic development, and I'm looking to have a professional esports team. So we're looking to announce that hopefully everything logistically goes okay, and we'll be able to announce that team. So then you will actually know that students here at GRPS locally could actually get recruited on a professional esports team. Right now they're doing esports competition, so if they win, you get a portion of the winnings, but eventually you want to get to salary, so then I'm not having to worry about winning competitions. I know that these kids can actually get a salary and actually get a job. And then I'm also the regional director of a video game called Black Point BR, so it's a black-owned veteran company. We have a COO who has letters from Obama from his rescues and work that he did as a veteran. We have our CEO who actually created the metaverses, who did all of the virtual concerts and stuff that all of the big celebrities actually were doing, and is still big now and to this day. I'm the regional director for this game. We also have people that worked on Call of Duty that actually helped build Call of Duty to what it is. And then our person who handles all of our advertising actually worked for Call of Duty for 10 years and left because he felt like he was not being able to really help the veterans. And so we're looking to not just build up our underserved communities, but this is going to be a community-built game. I'm actually going to go to our underserved communities, our YMCAs, you guys, our community colleges. I'm actually helping GRCC build their esports program and all of these other colleges. You guys will actually help us develop this game. Our students, our community is actually going to help us develop a game that is going to be huge, that we have some of the biggest people that actually worked in. Our CFO, which I love financial, I was looking at y'all finances there, but our COO actually works for 8 and 9 figure accounts. So we got a strong, powerful team. I'm excited to develop this game. I'm also going to be a video game character, so if once people play this game, hopefully I get good at this game because I'm really good at Call of Duty and I ain't trying to get chopped down. But I'm really excited about this opportunity, being able to bring an esports competition, professional esports team, being able to really create that infrastructure so kids will be able to get careers, kids will be able to actually develop these games. We're also going to develop kid games, so these kids that are doing visual arts and want to be able to be...
That's time.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Hoonhorst, and I was delighted to be a long-term sub in GRPS this year. I was able to have many conversations with all levels of school staff and have a few takeaways of areas that could be improved to hopefully ensure success within the district. First, place all non-English speaking children directly into an ESL school. We had issues with trauma and truancy from students not being properly placed into ESL schools, and it was well known that these students could not speak any English before they came to our school, and they were placed into our school anyways. This caused trauma for the students that were also in the building, and because we had to pull them in order to speak to the students because none of the staff could. And they were eventually moved to an ESL school. I would prefer that if it's a known student that cannot speak English, just to be placed directly into an ESL school. Second, restricting accessibility on computers. As a sub, I do not have access to Go Galaxy, so I cannot restrict what students are viewing. When I sub, students know that they have free reign of the internet. This means they play Fortnite, Minecraft, as well as chat with adults in chat rooms such as YouTube chat and TikTok. These are well known to be havens for sexual predators. I think it would be wise to limit computers to only the education sites you contract with. It would be better to allow teachers the ability to grant access to Google for the day if they need to search offline, instead of having us trying to restrict it with Go Galaxy or trying to make sure that they're not on these inappropriate sites. Next, keep teachers at their schools in their grades. Many teachers complained about being forced to move schools, grade levels, or both every year. This meant that they had to start all over again with how to teach the curriculum. It is believed it takes 3 years for a teacher to start to become the most effective. By consistently moving teachers, students are always getting a trial by fire teacher instead of a matured legacy teacher that is most effective at teaching the curriculum. Next, better access to clean drinking water. Many of our older buildings have outdated plumbing and unsafe drinking water. Not having enough filtered water fountains causes a lot more classroom disruptions than you might think. So having more clean water stations would be preferable. Next, a big one, pay teachers more and incentivize them to stay. Other districts are paying more for brand new teachers. We need to, at minimum, match their starting pay. This is the other districts, but we also need to incentivize teachers to stay. For example, if a new contracted or a current teacher signs a 5-year contract to commit to our district and fulfills those 5 years, they would receive a $10,000 bonus or something of that nature. This would ensure teachers will remain to the district hopefully long enough for other needed improvements and changes to take effect. And lastly, having a standardized curriculum for the entire GRPS district. Being a long-term sub, I have noticed that if I can teach in 3 different 3rd grade classes in 3 different buildings, I will be teaching at 3 different things. Teachers consistently are being told that we have to just kind of find things and make them up as we go. Yes, we do have Lexia, we have IXL, but I had to beg for curriculum this year, and I never got it. YouTube was my teacher, and that is a big problem. And we do have brilliant teachers that want to make this curriculum. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Williams, and our other fine board members. My name's Debbie Skidema. I'm a proud GRPS parent. I've got a 5th grader, a 3rd grader, and a soon-to-be kindergartner, all at Congress Elementary right now. Ms. Schottke, you took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to invite you to reimagine transportation and add that into part of the plan. I know you've heard from many different parents and individuals coming and talking about transportation issues, including late buses, missed buses, all of the different things, kids getting dropped off in the wrong locations. And I just wanted to talk to you about this opportunity to reimagine what that can look like. I'm also an educator. I've been in education for 20 years and in different districts, and I know how complex that this can be. So I'm not here to point fingers, but I'm here to advocate for our scholars and families that continue to deal with the ripple effects of the disruptions that this causes. When students are getting home scholars are getting home at 6:30, and then you have to have dinner, and then you want to have some time with your family, and then they're getting to bed really, really late. I'm talking about our young kiddos. And so that just has a ripple effect into the classroom the next day. People who are staying for these late buses, that adds onto their plate, and they can't get to the things that they need to do later on, and that also adds stress day after day after day. So I want to make sure that we take this opportunity right now to work together and hope this doesn't happen to continue in the next years. There's other things that can be done, and I wonder how open everyone is to collaborating with community partners, parents, and others on this issue. We're not gonna get new bus drivers. It's just hard. We know that there's a shortage, so what other barriers are there that we can do something about? A few other questions. How does busing get prioritized? There are some districts or some schools that get a late bus 4 out of the 5 days, 5 out of 5 days, and others that don't. How does that happen? And we want to think about equitable systems. So how can we prioritize busing so that it's more equitable? Is there an openness to collaborate around some different solutions? There could be more after-school programs put into place, utilizing some of the grant funding or different things. So if we know there's going to be consistent late busing, perhaps there's some structured programs with paid staff that could be there. You can pay staff members to take scholars home. There are different ways that you can do that. Bring in walking school buses that have people who are paid. There's a lot of different opportunities that we can think about. Now, I know transportation isn't as sexy as the state-of-the-art facilities that we were hearing about with the bond proposal, but it is essential, and it's noticeable when it's not there and when it's not working. And we don't want to burn out more people because of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Javante Tubbs.
I just wanted to, my name is Javante Tubbs. I'm the manager of the education department at the Urban League. Also just a concerned member of the community. I was looking at the bond. I don't have a lot of insight on how bonds work and all of that, but it was good information that they presented. But I understand that a lot of money, has to come into the district. That's always a good thing. But when I come to these meetings, I listen to what the teachers say a lot of the times, and I never see anything on you guys' agenda or line items that address what the teachers are saying. And I know a lot of time and effort and resources have gone into presenting this bond. I was just wondering if that same amount of time and research and energy is going into addressing some of the issues that the teachers are bringing up, because, and I hate to go into this, but in the 40s, we were getting taught in shacks, one-room shacks, right? No kind of technology. They still produced leaders of the world, right? They still produced the teachers, the doctors, the lawyers who helped support King and everything that they did in those times. So I'm saying that to say that it's not necessarily the facade improvement and the facilities improvement, and all that is cool, all of that is good, but we don't have a district without teachers. We don't have a district without the children. We're the bottom 50% of the state right now, GRPS.
No, we're not.
Well, that's what it says on some of the information when I pull it up. It says that we're bottom 50% of the state, this district, and it's going to continue to get worse if the teachers don't get the support, if the teachers don't have the resources, if the overcrowded classrooms are, if SEL, if kids who speak Spanish are getting put in regular class, these kind of things are going to start. They're already making our district, not perform well. So I'm just asking if the board could possibly have the same amount of energy, effort, resources put into addressing some of the things that these teachers need. Because like I said, if these teachers keep leaving the district, we will not have a district. If the children keep leaving this job, what are we at, 13, 14,000 now? Kids in the district? Kids are still leaving the district. We still haven't really accomplished the correct parental engagement best practices, because our parents aren't engaged in anything. So I'm just hoping that we get to a point where the board can start addressing the bottom line, which is the teachers, the children, the grades, the academics of GRPS, and not so much the facade and facilities and the glam and glitz and aesthetics.
Thank you.
Yep.
Alrighty, we will go to superintendent comments.
All right, good evening once again. And so with regard to some of the other things related to our district strategic plan, we do actually have some incentives that will be coming forward this week. We've already started that process related to specifically how to continue to retain some of our teachers. That information has gone out to those select schools, and it will go out to the broader school community. With everything related to our district strategic plan and our facilities master plan, it is not about buildings. It is about how do we create a comprehensive, programmatic approach. And as you know, that this is a very layered issue, as we have nearly 60 buildings and we have a history. And one of the things that we are doing specifically is around our healthy healing criteria, and it's paying homage to the fact that this is a very layered community. When we talk about the history of the city of Grand Rapids, I am a 3-year resident of the city of Grand Rapids, but the history is long and deep, which includes redlining and other things that have impacted how our schools and our community is. And so what often happens with the community is the schools take on everything that takes place. And so trying to be everything, and we take that with pride. We take the public. And people have to understand for free public education means that you do take the public and we embrace whomever comes to us, gender, race, language, religion. And so we want to make sure that everyone has a sense of belonging. That is very important to us. We know that our work is complicated and we didn't just get here in the last 3 years. If we're honest, this has been a issue that we are trying to address, and we're trying to address it in a very thoughtful way, which means that it's also messy. And as we start to peel back the layers, usually what we are discovering are there more layers within. And so addressing this will take a systematic, system-wide approach, and also to have some of those courageous conversations around what's working well and what's working not so well, and how do we adjust. And so that is the work that we are committed to. And we've had some hard conversations, and so I need to say that to our public as well as to our board. We've had some really hard conversations around what is our culture and how do we define culture and how do we make improvements of culture, and making sure that people understand that culture does not live with the public, the district, the teachers, the parents. It lives with all of us. We make up the culture. And so really having some honest conversations around what that looks like. And again, very committed to doing this work. Our goal, my goal as superintendent, is to ensure that Grand Rapids Public Schools is the best school district in the state. And I earnestly want that because I think that that's an equity issue for this community. And it takes time. And as we are starting to kind of lean into some of these uncomfortable conversations, people have to understand it's uncomfortable, but we are still leaning into them and we're trying to address it. So I certainly always appreciate public comment, and understand that what we are doing, trying to do better, is communicating more effectively what we're doing. And it doesn't mean that we'll get it perfect, but we are doing this with purpose. And so I want to make sure that people understand that we're trying to be very purposeful about the work that we are doing. And it does feel uncomfortable. Change, we have to normalize change, because that's the other thing that I'm going to say to this group. Change is hard, and oftentimes we look at change as I want everybody else around me to change, but I don't have to change my own behavior and practices. And so we are normalizing change. So what you are seeing very much is a storming of some systems that have been in place that we are trying desperately to interrupt, and that does take time. So again, won't get it perfect, but we are doing this with purpose to really impact this district, and it requires the engagement of our community, having the discourse even among our board, to lean into uncomfortable conversations. If we're all agreeing on the same thing, that means we're not doing anything. So we've got to lean into that. And we may not always agree on things, how the approach should be, but we want to make sure that we are keeping our scholars first and foremost. That has to be first and foremost. Yes, and our staff, we have to support our staff so that they will want to stay. And we are doing some of those things to incentivize some of that. But it also has to be sustainable, because I don't believe in the flash in the pan kind of responses. I want to build systems, and that requires us to be very thoughtful about what is and what is not.
Thank you. Now we'll go to board comments. Ms. Milton?
No comment tonight.
Mr. Eatman?
Yes. I kind of want to also highlight something that the superintendent just mentioned. The systems that are in place supersede every last one of us that are on this board here. And it is not a quick turnaround to adjust and address systems, especially systems of oppression that have been here, that's been impacting our entire community. So that does take time and effort. I do want to emphasize that I can stand here, or sit here, I should say, confidently and assure you that the work that we are up here doing, we take serious, and we are doing the work to address these systems. They might not be as fast as some would want to be done, but we want to make sure that when we do this, it's approached from an equity lens, that we're making sure that we take into account everything to address these systems and make some intentional changes. And so I want to emphasize what our superintendent just highlighted, because it's really important to understand that she's also doing that work internally. And so I appreciate the work that you are doing, listening to us also as we, behind the scenes, also make sure that we are saying, hey, what about this, what about that? And so it's a difference when you can have a leader that listens versus one who wants to reject when there are things that are told. Even when it's some things that are not favorable for her to hear, she still listens and she hears. And so I want to make sure that that is emphasized to the public, because often you guys are not part of all of those conversations that are happening, but the work is being done. It might not be done, again, as quickly as some might like, but it is challenged. We are challenging the work. We are challenging the systems that were put in place that predates her and all of us once again. And so I do want to emphasize that before I get into the rest of that. Secondly, I wanted to congratulate that student that got the McDonald's scholarship, but also to talk about youth art and representation when we talk about this city being an art city. As we know, Art Prize is one of those big, actually the world's largest art competition here in our backyard. So to have a scholar that's from our district 2 years in a row, as you stated, to have something that somebody will drive by and see as they're ordering their Big Mac or Happy Meal, or whatever they choose to order, is not to be taken lightly. That is the future of, that's a future leader there. And so I want to congratulate that student for that work, and also the teachers and subs that have been putting in the work throughout our district. And I also lastly want to say thank you for taking into consideration the well-being of our scholars last week when we had some very what I would call some hot days. And so to put that into mind, especially I was looking at some Facebook comments when we had some previous scholars who graduated from the district, talked about their third floor experiences at some of our school districts where they were completely sweated out of their clothes. And so to hear how they were also appreciated, I just want to say that I know that you don't take that work lightly. But it is something that I'm happy that our scholars are continuously put first, especially for their well-being. So thank you.
Ms. Shockey?
I want to congratulate our scholar athletes who competed at the Division I track and field meet this weekend. I had the opportunity to go and watch a few of our scholar athletes. So just a congratulations to Benna Anderson, who took first place in the 1600 meter. That's an Ottawa Hills athlete from our district who graduated this year. He had the second fastest time in Michigan history. So that's pretty impressive.
That's good.
Yeah, that's right. His sister also competed. She's a junior in the district. I know she PR'd among a few other of our scholar athletes, and that was a hot day. I could barely stand up and watch, let alone do my personal best out on that field. So that was pretty amazing. Just a note of congratulations to our graduates too. Graduation is just one of my favorite pieces of work that we get to do on this Board of Ed. To see the faces of our graduates as they walk across that stage is so meaningful. So thank you to the community who raised those children and got them across that stage. And then just want to wish our staff a well-deserved respite this summer as you move into these months of recuperating and preparing for the next year.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, I also want to mention graduation. I got a chance to go to every graduation. I just want to take every opportunity as a new board member to connect with our district community. It was a great time, and I had a lot of fun. A lot of students were so excited, and the energy was just amazing. And to speak on something that Trustee Eatman mentioned about representation, representation truly matters, and it being Pride Month, I just wanted to kind of bring some attention to the fact that we are making so much progress as a society, and it just makes me so happy. And kids, even at graduation, came as their authentic selves, and I'm just glad that we're a district that allows that openness for our students to be celebrated and encouraged to just always be their authentic selves. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Ms. Davis?
I just want to wish all of our staff, teachers, parapros, principals, admin, just a wonderful last week. It's been kind of a crazy few weeks with so many changes. So I know that as a teacher, I know we're always ready to just change on the spur of the moment and adjust. And I know that all of you are doing such a wonderful job of doing that. And your efforts don't go unnoticed. So I'm hoping that all of you can at least take a couple days to relax and take care of yourselves once our school year has ended. Thank you for all your work.
I'll end with congratulating Lillian Tomorsky for her beautiful artwork that won that McDonald's competition. As much as that was wonderful, just to know that we have a scholar in our district with that kind of talent is just exciting. I can hardly trace, so to be able to do that is just amazing. I am serious. And I always admire artists. It takes a different set of skills and mindset and thinking. And when we have scholars who are excelling in the arts, that is exciting for me. And then I want to highlight the students that graduated this year, that I hope that they feel that we have prepared them for their next step and that they continue to come back and see us. And hopefully any of them that go into education will come back and decide to work with us. And then lastly, again, as we enter this last week of school, just to thank all our staff, custodians, teachers, the cabinet, we know we get so much for the superintendent, but the availability that she has to us and to the community, it is a lot of work as well. So I want to thank her and all of the teachers, the subs, anyone that comes in, community members that come in and pour into our scholars. We thank you for helping us have another successful school year, and we hope to see everyone back in the fall. And if you are someone that lives in the city, encourage someone to enroll their young people with us as we continue to try to grow this district. Thank you so much, and this meeting is adjourned.